I'm going to talk about what bothers me personally about fluoridation, but before I do that I want to talk about it in more general terms. Suppose it's completely harmless. If it's completely harmless, there are still people out there who are not happy with the idea of having fluoride in their water. And I personally don't think it's okay just to ride roughshod over that opinion, however scientifically invalid it is, and say you have to have fluoride in the water. And I think there are two reasons why it's not okay to do that, assuming it's harmless. Here are two blobs of toothpaste. That blue stuff is high in fluoride, and it's the stuff that some people in this house use because they're unhappy with the state of their teeth. It's just blue because people like blue, it's associated with cleanliness and so on. The other stuff, that is unfluoridated. It's just calcium carbonate, gelatin and all the usual stuff in toothpaste, but without any fluoride in it. Interestingly, for viewers of the other channel, that's medical grade calcium carbonate. Obviously we have the choice of whether we're going to use fluoridated or unfluoridated toothpaste. One argument that people use for fluoridating water is that it makes it cheaper for people without much money to protect their teeth. However, it seems to be very pessimistic about dental health and diet. It's saying that you can't do anything about the amount of sugar in children's food. It's saying that children are to be preferred. The adults that might or might not be affected by the fluoride are to be discounted, whereas in fact they may believe, whether or not they're right, that it causes a problem for them. And it's also, I think, quite an isolationist thing. I have this thing about dentists, that dentists should be postgraduates. They need to know as much as possible about the human body before they start to make decisions about it. You need to be a doctor before you're a dentist. Dentists tend to specialise too much on what's going on up here and not enough about the rest of you. There was once an attempt to add lithium to tap water. There was a plan because the idea was that the world would be too depressing for people to deal with it, so they would have to have antidepressants in the tap water. In early versions of 7-Up there was lithium in that. That's why it's called 7-Up, 7 being the atomic weight of lithium roughly. Just there, 7 is number 3. And up because obviously it's cheerful. So that was the reason. Now people didn't do that, and I think probably most people who take lithium medication will understand why they didn't do that and think it was a good idea. So that's something that didn't happen. Here is a benzene ring. Benzene rings are important in organic chemistry. And you see you've got double bond, single bond, double bond, single bond, double bond, single bond. That's not really what happens. What actually happens is the electrons are delocalized, but that's how it's drawn. To simplify this, it's drawn like that, and to simplify it further, it's drawn like that with the ring showing the delocalized electron. That is a little bit confusing because if you've got the bonds, you realise that something's not going to work, and you may just stick a load of hexagons together and it's going to look a bit silly and it's not going to work. But that is one way of writing it. Because I didn't have much time, I wrote it in that way. Okay, now the thyroid. The thyroid is this organ here. What it does basically is it produces a hormone that determines how fast your body runs. So if you've got too much thyroxine, which is this, your body will probably be running too fast. And if you haven't got enough, then your body will be running too slow, so you'll be like tired all the time, no appetite, constipated, cold, and so on. And if you have too much of it, you will have huge appetite, losing weight, diarrhea, and anxious. So that's thyroxine for you. Now remember, those are benzene rings, so they're not quite like that. Now, my issue with fluoridation is as follows. This is a question I'm asking. I'm not saying this is actually the case. These here are iodine atoms. Now, there are several different thyroid hormones, by the way. They mainly have iodine in, not all of them do. So some of them are a store for the iodine and so forth. But anyway, you've got the iodines. Now, if in your body, you've got fluoride floating around, fluoride is higher on the reactivity series here than iodine is. So my question is, and I don't know the answer to this, I may be wrong, but it doesn't seem to have been sorted out, and it seems to me the burden of proof is on one side rather than the other, is that if you've got fluorides floating around, surely that iodine is going to be replaced by fluorine, which is going to reduce the total level of thyroid hormones in your blood. But at the same time, what if your pituitary and your thyroid, your pituitary is measuring the thyroid hormones the whole time, and it mistakes the one with the fluorines in it, for the one with the iodines in it, whereas other receptors in your body don't detect that and react against it. Surely that means, does it not, that you could get a depressed thyroid and you could have an underactive thyroid because of that. It seems to me that that's what that would do. I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying, to me, that's questionable and interesting. And I'm not aware that that question's been answered elsewhere, although it may have been. So anyone who's watching this who knows the answer to that, please tell me. This stuff, ting, the blue stuff, i.e. the stuff with the fluoride in it, if you swallow that, that's going down to this stomach, which is got hydrochloric acid in. And again, the chlorine is lower on the reactivity series than the fluorine. So surely, does that not mean that if you swallow toothpaste that's fluoridated, the hydrochloric acid is going to be, to some extent, converted to hydrofluoric acid, which is well known for regenerating itself and continuing to eat away at stuff. So, is it not possible, I know you're not supposed to swallow fluoridated toothpaste, but is it not possible that swallowing fluoridated toothpaste is going to increase the risk of stomach ulcers? It seems to me that it would, and it also seems to me that fluoridating water will also increase the risk of stomach ulcers. So basically, my big problem with all of this is not all of that actually. My big problem with it is the same as the problem with vaccination, which is on another video, which is that I don't actually think that the issue is the controversy. The issue is the emotional reaction that people have to it and the polarization of opinion, which leads to people not listening to each other. And I think that whereas obviously it's important whether things are fluoridated or not, or whether vaccinations are given or not and their harmful effects and so forth, apart from there being a civil liberties issue, I think that there's a big issue in general in the world with people having polarized opinions and not listening to each other. And I actually think that's more important than any of these issues because it has a much wider effect than just fluoridation, just atheism versus Christianity, just vaccination versus non-vaccination. And I think that needs to be addressed, and it's actually far more important on the whole than the actual issues themselves. So, I know this video has been really long and I'm sorry about that. If you like this video, please rate, comment, share and subscribe. If you dislike it, please tell me why so I can improve, and I'll see you tomorrow.